Hey, runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. This is runners only, yeah, let's get it started. Hey, this is runners only with Dom Harvey. Fast paced, slow and steady, anywhere you coming. Just wanna connect for everyone who loves running. Hey, runners only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Mike King, advocate. How does that?
Non-runner.
Well, that's the thing. The podcast is called Runners Only, Mike King, and I know you're a non-runner now, and I spoke to a few people, and I said I was meeting you today and getting you on the podcast, and they're like, "Does he run or just to the letterbox?" But
I tell you this.
Okay.
A world exclusive. No one knows. You're the first to find out. Next February with Rick Wells and Ian Jones, we are doing a triathlon from, wait for it, Cape Reinga to Wellington. So we are swimming, running and cycling from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the North Island in about 8 days.
Jeez, you're in fabulous company. So, Rick Wells, Ironman champion from the 80s and 90s.
World short course Ironman champion. Ian Jones.
The Camo Kid.
Yep, legendary All Black, and add on me. And well, Rick said, I'm going to raise some money for I Am Hope. I'm going to, for Gumboot Friday, for kids counselling. I said, what a great idea. And he goes, I'm going to swim and I'm going to ride and I said, oh, that's cool. I'll do it, but I can't swim. He said, I'll teach you. So I started in January and I couldn't swim a stroke. I never learned to swim. I mean, I could float around in a pool, but I couldn't swim. And I've been doing it ever since. Straight after this, I'm going down to Newmarket Pool and try and knock out a K down there and And I've been on the bike. The only thing that I'm short of at the moment is the running because of my knees, but I'll get there.
Yeah. Wow. So, how old are you now? What are you, like 60?
I just turned 60. Yeah. So I want to try new adventures.
Yeah, but there is that saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But you can learn anything at any age, but it doesn't get any easier. Was it terrifying getting in the pool?
Yeah, I think that saying's null and void. I think that used to be the saying, and that was just stubbornness. But anyone who has seen the transition of my career from a chef to comedy, and from comedy and quite a politically incorrect, homophobic, sexist, racist, misogynist comedian.
You were savage.
Yeah, I was savage, and then to transition out of that into a mental health advocate, I think. We've broken the mold and we've proved that people can change. And, I often have people coming to me, because at my mental health talks, you've got to balance comedy with reality. And I do that. And, people who like the comedy go, would you ever do stand-up? No. Why not? Because it's not who I am anymore. And then they say, would you do Game of Two Halves again? Hell no.
That show was legendary at its time, though.
At its time, yeah. But it was like a lot of programs from back then. Benny Hill, you'd never have that again. I mean, and that's what it was for me. It was the Benny Hill of our day, and that's where it should stay.
Yeah. But I mean, even like way more recent than Benny Hill, if you look at a show like Little Britain from say 10 years ago, couldn't get away with that now. Oh man, there's so much to unpack with you, so much to talk about because it's just been a hell of a life.
Yeah,
it's bonkers. It's nuts. I introduced you as a fucking advocate.
I have had a very fulfilling life, and if on the day I was born, even 5 years ago, would I have known where I was going to be, and do I know where I'm going to be in another 5 years? The answer is no. I'm just, I've spent my whole life with no self-esteem, always thinking everyone else is better. Kids were better than me, faster, stronger, athletically more gifted than I was, and I spent my whole life looking for my purpose. And during that time, I spent my life like running down this long corridor, just kicking open doors, making things happen. In the last few years, I've realised that was wrong. When you're going down the corridor of life and kicking open doors, hoping to find something, all you find is rooms with more doors.
Yeah.
So what I do now is I am where I'm meant to be right now, and if there's a door that's open, I'll go in. That's the door I'm supposed to be in. There might be a lion in that door, but it's still where I'm supposed to be at that time. And
is that still like saying everything happens for a reason?
Yeah. So I'm just trying to go with the universe and go through the doors, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but always, whether it's good or bad, appreciating that this is where I need to be. There's a lesson here. I don't know what the lesson is. There's a lesson here.
It'll become apparent.
Yeah, and the lesson might be, stay the fuck away from lions.
Okay, so I mean, you were a very successful comedian, like a massive star, as big as what you can get in New Zealand. But no comedian's ever going to be named Kiwi Bank New Zealander of the Year.
It's just weird, eh?
That's phenomenal. So, okay, let's go all the way back. So, so you're from Whenuapai?
Yep, I grew up in Whenuapai village.
So, what do you like as a kid?
I was one of those. So, I was a kid that never felt like I was good enough, as I said, and I was, biggest hero in my life was my dad, and I always wanted to impress my dad. I wanted my dad to look at me in front of his mates and go, yeah, that's my boy, future All Black, that's my boy. My old man wasn't that sort of, he didn't pat kids on the head, he booted them in the ass. I knew I was loved, but he was a man of few words.
He just didn't show any sort of vulnerability or anything?
No, never.
Do you think just a product of his time?
Yeah, 100%. I realise now that my dad didn't have a dad, so he didn't know how to be a dad. You know, he was just winging it as he went along, and for him it was work. And he taught me the 4 rules to being a man: protect your family, provide for your family, give your kids a better opportunity than you have, and never show weakness. And those 4 things for me added up to work. My love language with my kids was always money. Why? Because I didn't have any, we never went on holiday, so, with my kids, we went to Fiji, we went to Raro, we went to all of these, Australia, places that I'd never been when I was a kid. So as a kid growing up, I had no self-esteem, so I was loud and obnoxious. I did what most Kiwi kids do. I was just super loud, and always trying to impress my dad. Sadly it couldn't happen. So I was always looking to be world champion at something. This was the standard that I thought my dad had set for me. I had to be. So I was a great starter of projects. Rugby, soccer, anything. I was just looking to be a world champion. Running, even tried running. I tried everything. And as soon as I knew I couldn't be world champion, like better than average wasn't good enough. Best of my school, not good enough. I had to be world champion. And so I was always looking for that thing. And at 8 years old, a mate of mine told a joke in front of a whole lot of kids, and no one laughed, and they started mocking him and tried to get him to tell a joke again. And I told the joke. I told exactly the same joke, and everyone laughed. Why?
What was was it timing? Was it delivery?
I have no clue. People often say, you're telling jokes must be really hard for you. And, for me, it's easy. It's like saying to Eric Clapton, must be hard to play the guitar. For him, it's easy. I don't know what it is. I just had a gift for it. I knew I was good at it, and it saved me. Like I never hit puberty till I was nearly 18 years old. So if when you're going through high school in West Auckland, and people whose balls haven't dropped get mocked mercilessly, so you have to use the skills that you've got. So I had 2 skills. One was comedy. But 2, I wasn't afraid of getting knocked out, so I would always throw first punch, and I would just get in there, and so people went, this kid's crazy. So I wasn't picked on. So my comedy, that really helped.
Yeah.
My anger, I guess, that really helped too. I was 4'11", but I got away with a lot of stuff because I was the crazy kid.
Yeah. Were you an angry kid?
I was.
Yeah, why? Why were you angry?
When you're striving to, when you're striving for the approval of the big people in your life and you're not getting it, you got 2 options. You curl up in a ball and you cry, or you lash out. I was a lasher out, So But comedy was always my go-to. And I told my dad I want to be a comedian. He went, "Yeah, you can't be a fucking clown. That's not a job. You got to have, you got to have a trade, mate."
What was your dad's job? What was his line of work?
So my dad was a salesman.
Oh, yeah.
My dad was a salesman. He ended up a gardener. My dad was a very charismatic, good-looking fella, great sportsman. He could play any musical instrument. He could play any instrument. Couldn't read music, but if he couldn't play it, like one day when I was 8 years old, he brought home a set of bagpipes. The next day, every cat in the neighborhood wanted to sleep with those bagpipes. He could do anything.
Amazing.
He was a great sportsman, single-figure handicap golfer, left and right-handed, good footy player, good-looking fellow with lots of friends. I want to be just like my dad. So,
the first two things you said about your dad were good-looking and charismatic, and you tick those two boxes.
No.
Don't you think?
No.
Oh, you've got...
When I was a kid... as a kid, I was an ugly child. No, seriously. 4'11", buck teeth, big ears, rubber lips, had a massive head. Like, it looks normal now, Dommy. It looks normal now. But I was born with this head. Can you imagine this head on a little bubba's body? I could show you a picture of me and my David Bain top with my massive head. So I was
like a bobblehead dog.
I remember, this is true. My brother was really good looking. And he was Dad's favourite. He got a nickname. His nickname was Butch. He was a good-looking kid. And I remember a girl I had a crush on, Debbie Lazarus, I'll never forget. And I used to go to the pool and watch her in a bikini and, lie on my little boner going, she's amazing. And I remember saying to her, she was one of my best mates, right? And I said to her, so me and my brother used to play this game, I'm better than you at this, I'm better than you at this. He was an artist and all kinds of things. And I remember saying to Deb, I'm better looking than Brian. And she went, no. I went, I was crushed. I was seriously crushed because I always thought I was a good look. And she went, no. And she said, have you seen your head? And I was like, what's wrong with my head? And then round about the same time, I was at Henderson Square, trying on a pair of pants. And it was the first time, those mirrors where they have the mirrors connecting in the what's the name?
Yes, in the dressing room, yeah.
And it was the first time I saw the side of my head. I looked like that character out of Enemy Mine with Louis Gossett Jr., that big cone at the back of your head. I tell you,
you're exaggerating.
No.
This is comedy for exaggeration.
No. It traumatized me so much that I tried to avoid people looking at me side on. Seriously, it was such a traumatizing experience because you only ever see your face. You don't. No, seriously, you don't see the rest. I've got to find this picture for you.
Yeah, it didn't happen. I feel like everyone's got their own insecurities, and I feel like this was yours. Right. But it was in your own head, though.
Yeah, and of course it was
your own giant head.
But that's my own giant head. But that was enough. That was always going to be enough. Where am I? You'll love this. So this is look how young I am. You know how old I am there, Dom?
You look like you're. You said you hit puberty at 18. You got a moustache there. It's 22.
That there's 36.
36.
36 years old.
See, what I'm seeing there is that's a handsome dude.
That is a handsome dude.
Yeah, that's a good-looking man.
I did grow it. My dad said I'd grow into my head, and I did. Where is this bloody picture? You can never find them when you need them.
No, because it's fake news.
Yeah, it's fake news. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Oh, my goodness gracious me. I can't find it, but just trust me. I've shown it at talks when I give my corporate talks, and people go, oh my God, look at you. Yeah. No, I can't find it, Dom. Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
It doesn't exist.
I don't believe it anyway. I feel like it was in your own mind.
Yeah.
Like most of these things. Okay, so you crack that joke at school and you get the laugh that the other kid doesn't. Yeah. And I'm guessing it's like a dopamine rush, it's a real adrenaline rush. So then why do you become a chef?
Because my dad wanted me to have a trade.
Right. And I also, when are we talking here? Like 70s, 80s?
Yeah, 1970s.
So I'm guessing comedy wasn't really a viable...
In 1977, I went and worked at our Matador restaurant in Auckland, New Zealand's first licensed restaurant. Then I went and worked at Bonaparte's, Fisherman's Wharf, Palomino out of Henderson, and ended up finishing my apprenticeship at El Trovador. I went to chef school. I was in the same class as Judith Tabron from Seoul and Meccano, one of the girls. Wow. She's in New Zealand Chefs Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, but she...
Were you good?
No, I was terrible. I'll tell you how terrible I was. I'll put it this way. Okay. I'll put it to you this way. I can copy anything a chef shows me and replicate it perfectly. I don't have the ability to look at a box of ingredients and go, I'm going to turn it into this. I remember one time Judith got 10 out of 10 for a sauce that she made. And when she wasn't looking, I grabbed her sauce and took it up for marking, right? And I took it up, and the frickin' teacher gave me 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And, you know, me being me, I was like, what a load of shit that is. This is Judith's sauce. She gave her 10 out of 10, and you only give me 8 out of 10. She goes, yes, but Judith brought charisma with it.
What does that mean?
Well, that's part of cooking.
Right.
Judith would always be immaculate. There wouldn't be a spot of sauce. I was always covered in shit. My hat wasn't starched. So, I did cooking. I was trying to find myself early, and I joined, I started prospecting for the Mongrel mob.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Why? Why did that seem like a good 17. Idea?
Well, I was trying to fit in.
Right.
Just try and fit in. You know, I'm trying to find myself. These guys were looking super cool for me. I just started drinking. You know, I was smoking weed at 13, and so for me it was just it was part of a family. And then we as a prospect, we had to go and throw some Molotovs cocktails at the Highway 61 pad. Me and another prospect. We did that, and they chased us, and it was only in Sandringham Road, actually, and then they chased us, went to run back to the car where the Prez was, and he'd taken off, so we were on our own. I'm running down the road, find them down the road. These guys are right up our ass, jump into the car and think we're safe, and instead of driving away, he tried to run them over. And they were diving, we were on the footpath, and I was like, whoa, what the hell is this? And then when we left, I go, what would have happened if, you'd hit them? And he just looked at me and he started laughing, and I went, oh, I was going to be driving the car. That was the deal. And at that point there, I went, I'm not going to jail for you.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell I'm doing this. So I joined the Merchant Navy.
Right.
When I saw my uncle, and joined the Merchant Navy and went away to sea for the next 14 years.
Oh, is that right? Is that after chefing?
Yeah, no, yeah. So, so I joined I'd qualified with my London City and Guilds, and the first job I went and got was, I shipped out.
Right. You enjoy that?
No, I hated it.
Why did you do it for so long?
Because the money was so good.
Right.
And the time on, time off, it was horrible. I just got into a relationship. I just got married, and my wife was cheating on me, and there was no communication. It was letters back in those days. You wrote letters. You had a phone call, and she had to be home, and you'd run down to the end of the wharf to make a phone call, collect, and she's not home. So for me, it was trauma, just constant trauma. So I just turned to drugs and alcohol. You can get all the drugs you want, and get all the alcohol you want, just to survive, and then get home and fights and all kinds of, with the person you're supposed to be in love with. And, so it was horrible. It was very traumatic that whole time.
It's awful.
Yeah.
So that was, you're married again now. You've only been married twice?
No, 3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
So
the first one failed when you were in the Navy?
The first one failed when I walked out.
Right.
I just couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I still loved her, but I just couldn't do it anymore. It was too traumatizing, and I remember the day it happened, and I remember how it happened. She was at the Inner Circle pub in Avondale, and I just got home from sea, went down and saw her, and went, sorry, we're done. And she just gave me a big hug, and she goes, I understand, and that was it. Just walked away on that one, and straight into the next one. And I married.
You guys have any kids from the first marriage? Or no,
she had a daughter.
Right.
She was a lot older than me too. She was about 11 years older than I was. And then I met my second wife, and we had 3 kids. And I'm on my 3rd wife now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So when did the comedy start? Did you find you sort of even subconsciously like honed that when you're in the Navy, like just cracking jokes in front of...
That's exactly what happened. So I spent a lot of my time on the inter-island ferries, and so there was always a big audience. We had big crews there, and there was always a big audience. And I remember I used to crack jokes all the time. And then a friend of mine, this is a good story, I never told the story. A friend of mine called Max Wilby, Max said to me, you're a really funny guy. You should think about being a comedian. And I was like, oh, don't be silly, Max. I wouldn't even know how to do that. He said, well, what I'm thinking is every time you crack a joke and people laugh, write it in the book. Write it in the book. Write the punchline in the book. If you think of a funny thought, put it in the book. Put it in the book. And then when you go to write your comedy, if you're looking for a punchline, go to your book and there'll be something funny in there. I did it the other way. What I did was I still got the book, but in this thing I would put all of these jokes and punchlines, and instead of writing something to suit, I would go backwards. I would start with the punchline and go backwards. The big mistake I noticed when I first started comedy was comedians would start out with a Shaggy Dog story, and it'd be a really good story.
What does that mean, a Shaggy Dog story?
Well, it means I've got a really great setup. It's like I'm taking you down a street to show you a house, and you're looking at all these fantastic houses, and you go, oh, fuck, this is going to be good. And then you get down to the end of the street, and it's an empty section. And you're thinking, what the fuck you bring me down here for? I always started with the flash house down the end of the street and worked my way backwards. And then if the Shaggy Dog story wasn't funny, I would always have funny to fall back on. That was my...
So end with the high.
End with the high always.
Right.
So for me, my comedy career started out with a character. Who am I? Well, I'm the Māori boy, so I'm going to use that. There are no Māori comedians. Jeremy Corbett, John Bridges, David Downs, all of these white, Willie DeWitt, Mark Wright. They're all white. So I'm going to use that card. And I always, so my persona, I loved Eddie Murphy. I love Richard Pryor. So good suits are important. That look was important.
And Billy T. James, was he like a big influence? Were you like, I can do that sort of shtick?
So you see, Billy was a musician.
Yeah.
And Billy used to tour around England, so, he was playing in a lot of those Cosy Club type arrangements. And so he watched a lot of English comedians, so he brought their jokes home, and true story. When I was 15 at our Trovator, we turned into a cabaret. So Billy played at our restaurant. Wednesday to Saturday, 2 shows a night. So I got to watch the legend. I saw him up close. I cooked his meal. I listened to the stories of him and Tui Teka and the show band. So I got to spend 2 years of my life. And this is 2 years before Radio Times even came out, Billy's first show.
Right.
So I got to see him in the beginning. And I've always been really resentful that every documentary that's been out about Billy, there's a whole lot of young comedians or comedians from my era who didn't know the man at all that were talking about him like they were experts. And I was just like, no one ever asked me.
You never met the fucker.
Yeah, that's right. So we spend, I spent a lot of time with the guy. I spent a lot of time with Tui Teka. I remember when he was living in a flat in Mount Wellington, a shitty flat, and he had a Rolls Royce. Why? Because no other Māoris had a Rolls Royce. So we used to go around there and watch Tui get into his car and the seat automatically adjusts and Missy would get in. So, I worked as a roadie in these bands when, I was the only one at the restaurant that had a ute. The boys needed their gear, so they used to take me to the Crypt nightclub. They'd take me to pubs when I'm 17 years old. It's 20 to get in. When the police came in, they'd hide me under the table. I had a really, really, really rich life where I got to, spend... And I always felt like I was older than everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
Wait, the photo you showed me before of you in your 30s, you look younger than everyone else.
Yeah, but I'd always associated with people older than myself.
Okay.
I didn't I just found that young people were dumb.
Or people your same age.
Yeah, they were into girls, but girls were unavailable to me. I had no hair on my nuts, so I avoided girls.
That's a look now. That's a look.
but I avoided, and it's a true story. I remember saying to my dad at 17, I go, "What the fuck is going on, Dad?" And he just laughed and he goes, "You'll thank me for that." you'll thank me for that.
Being a late bloomer?
Yeah, being a late bloomer.
How so?
Well, because when I'm 33, I look, I still look young,
Yeah.
I was asked my age right up till I was in pubs, right up till I was 36 years old, I'm 60. I think I'm in pretty good nick for a 60-year-old.
Yeah, you look great. Yeah. You look great. God, I was a late starter as well. I remember that the first time I saw some wispy blonde pubes on my nuts, I was like 15 or 16. I was so excited.
Oh, well, I tell you,
excited.
This is a true story. I remember this Anne McGregor who said to me one time talking about it. I said, I got hair on my balls. She went, this is what she said. She went, I was about 15. She went, white ones. I was like, fuck, how do you know?
Oh, yeah.
How do you know?
Okay, so the comedy thing, you started quite late, eh? When did you do your first stand-up set? Like 30-something?
35.
That's a fucking late start.
Yeah, it is.
Why?
A late
Why?
start.
What was it?
Well,
did you want to do it before and you were just nervous and you kept putting it off?
There was never any opportunity, really.
Okay.
So I broke my leg playing rugby. And I saw a comedy advertised at, there was a pub on Albert Street. I can forget the name of it. And I went in there and I watched these guys and, lasted about half an hour.
You're just sitting there thinking, I could do better.
Yeah, that was shit.
Yeah,
They were more vaudeville type, magician-y type comedians.
Okay. Was that just what people were doing at the time? Or?
Yeah, a guy called Late Night Mike was there and, I travelled overseas. We bought, film of Richard Pryor, of Eddie Murphy, and so that was my style. Bill Cosby. My style of comedy was stories about life. These guys were making up stories. So then I went to Kitty O'Brien's. I saw that there was a thing down there at Kitty O'Brien's, and I watched, and I thought, these guys are so good. And I sneakily filmed. I had a bag, a camera, an old VHS camera.
God, it must have been massive, like a handycam.
In a bag. And I just sat my bag on my knee and I filmed. Not to steal material, to go home and break it down and find out why things weren't funny and why things were funny. And then I saw a guy called Andrew Clay.
Oh, yeah.
And Andy Clay is the fucking originator of New Zealand stand-up. Never, ever, ever got credit. But he was the man that started comedy in New Zealand. Everyone else before Andy Clay was a fake-ass bitch. He was the man. Why? Because he told stories about life.
Is that right? I know Andrew. Like, I met him through radio circles. He was at Hauraki for a while. Really? Is that right?
About life. He'd come back from Australia. He'd done the hard yards in the stand-up comedy scene in Australia and survived. He came back and talked about living with his grandmother in Selwyn Village and like sneaking out of the car and sneaking into her thing because, young people couldn't live there. He was a fucking genius. And I went, that's a stand-up comedian. So the next, I went home and I practiced the routine. I wasn't like everyone else. I had 2 kids, so I set up in my garage a couch and I had all their toys there. And one of the big mistakes that people would ask is they would ask the audience a question and they'd only have one answer for the 90% answer. So there's 3 answers an audience can give you. The answer that everyone expects, the out-of-the-box answer, and I'm an asshole, I just want to destroy you answer. And if you don't have a response for each one of those 3, you're dead in the water. So I used to, little things that they would do, they'd have one great joke and they wouldn't walk. And they would stay there for another extra 10 minutes trying to get it back and never get it back. So I just learned all of their mistakes. And so the next week, I had my little wee routine. Now,
how many minutes are we talking? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
10 minutes. So, but here was the deal, right? I studied. And so I took the Rolling Stones approach to comedy. So
lots of heroin.
No. Well, no.
We'll get to that.
No. So the Rolling Stones used to sing Chuck Berry covers.
Right.
Right? And then they'd throw in 1 or 2 original songs. So I went in with some jokes, which I put myself in, and so instead of 3 guys went about, me and a couple of mates went into this bar. Right. So I started out with jokes with local references, and then I had a couple of original jokes. I got there, and So I walked into the pub looking like Eddie Murphy, had my suit on, I was ready to go, said to Paul Horan, hey, how do I get on the stage? He went, you come back in 6 weeks, we have a rookie night. And I go, who's on? And he ran through the list. I said, look, I've been watching you guys for the last 6 weeks. I think all your comedians are shit. I think I'm funnier than them. I pulled out $400 out of my wallet. I said, here's $400. If no one laughs or anyone walks out, you can buy the whole bar drinks and you'll never see me again. He snatched the money out of my hand, went out the back.
$400. So this was, like, say, 25, 30 years ago. That's a shit ton of cash.
That's a shit ton of cash.
Yeah,
and it would have bought the whole bar drinks.
Yeah.
So he went out the back and he must have said to them, because they all poked their heads out the door and they're all looking and they're all nodding, yeah, put them on. Now, I was fully prepared to go first, right? This is how much I studied. I'm ready to go first. First was the hardest. Comedy wasn't a thing in New Zealand, but I was ready for it. David Downs come out and went, so you're the new guy. I went, yeah. He says, where do you want to go in the lineup? And in my head, I went, are you fucking shitting me? You're giving me the choice? Instantly, I said, last and the second. He went, tough slot. I go, what the fuck do you know? This is how naive you are. So how it used to work was 3 comedians in the first, 2 in the second, and then the headliner. What used to happen, the 3 top first comedians had a hard time because no one knew what comedy was.
Right.
So it was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. By the first break, that have all had beers, we get it now. So they're with the next guy that's coming. Okay, and the guy at the second, the last guy in the second got the easiest run. By the third, I've had more drinks. Now I'm funnier than you.
Yeah.
So I took, thinking last and the second. So when it come time to be packed house, when it come time to me getting on, David Downs get up, say, we've got this Maori guy who thinks he's funnier than everyone else. And everyone had killed up to that point. So the audience, whoa, don't worry, it's his first time. If he's no good, we'll all laugh, which got a big laugh, And if he's terrible, we'll start cheering and and so everyone's right into it. And then, hey, here he is. So the first thing I did was I put David Downs down straight away, bang, and then the South Africans were touring at the time, and it was the first time Chester Williams, the first black guy, was touring with them. So I had a joke using an accent, just see the South Africans, Chester's here, but someone's got to carry the bags, and and people found that funny. It's racist, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And then I moved into my jokes, but so the jokes was about me going to Shortland Street party. Everyone was short. I'm standing there at this party. I look over in the corner. There's Temuera Morrison and Paul Holmes standing under a coffee table.
That's good.
I saw Belinda Todd, who was big at the time. I thought, wow, she's sexy. I said, hey, Belinda, want to come back to my place, for coffee, and then we'll make love? She, no, I've got my menstrual cycle. I said, sweet, I got my ute outside. Chuck it on the back.
Oh my God! You'll be cancelled for that now.
Yeah, I know. But so this was huge. So, and I got to my second to last joke, and it fucking slayed. I had one more joke, but the second to last joke slayed, and I was like, "That's me." Hey, you've been great. Thanks very much. And I went off to the chants and more. Little did I know when I went up, and this is how fucking crazy my life is. Ben Elton had walked in as the MC was introducing me. Ben Elton, Young Ones, Blackadder.
Now one of the massive author, best-selling author.
He's on a book tour. And he comes in, he sees the intro, he sees me smash it. He comes out the back. I'm standing in the corner. I'm going, yeah, I fucking own this, man. And Ben Elton comes over and goes, I just watched your gig. Is that your first time? He said, that can't be your first time. So we had this, whether it was my first time. I said, I've done Family Guest, mate. If that was your first time, you're going to be famous. And I was like, holy shit, really? He goes, yeah, got to go. And he's out the back door. Wow. Everyone comes, what did Ben Elton say? I said, fucking Ben Elton said, I'm going to be famous.
Yeah, and you were, straight away. Metro Magazine named you, a Comedian of the Year or whatever. You were named New Zealand Comedian of the Year. So did the success happen really quickly?
Yeah, real quick. But so the boys would go, let's go out and let's do this. I practiced. I filmed that performance and every performance after. Why? Because I wanted to know where I was making the mistakes. One of the things I used to do was I used to stroll backwards and forwards. I got seasick watching myself. Another thing that I used to do was rub my face. And so there's conscious thing. And then another time, like, they didn't laugh at a joke that I thought was really funny. I watched the film back. I realized I'd stood on the punchline. Just when they're about to laugh, I panicked and went on to the next one. So I stood on my punchline. So I learned to consciously count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Yeah. And then I had a tactic where that wasn't the joke, that was the lead-in. And then the real punchline comes second. So I studied and I studied and I studied. And I had, because I'd always done, family gigs where the material always had to be new, every week I would change it. And Corbett used to come up to me and go, hey, man, you know you can use that stuff from last week. And I go, no, that's what you do, man. I'm fucking, this is my arrogance, right? You needed that, though. I remember Paul Horan came up and gave me $20, this night that I did my thing. And he said, I said, what's that for? He goes, no, that's your pay. You were so great. And I went, no, you keep it, man. I want to own this shit. That's, that was my arrogance.
Did the others, were you popular with other comedians, or were they like, oh, this guy's a jerk?
Yeah, probably.
But I feel like you've probably got the cheek or the charisma to carry it off. But
well, I could be whatever I want because I was the best. There was only one guy better than me, and that was Andrew Clay.
Yeah.
Andrew Clay. So what did I do? I'd watch other comedians go up to Andy and try to make friends with him. He was like, fuck off. I'm not teaching you anything. He immediately became my best friend. Immediately. And him and I did the first stand-up comedy tour around New Zealand. Him and I were just glued together, and I learned as much. I just got as much knowledge out of him as I could. I watched him. He was a pro, man. I remember we did a gig down the line, and he's opening, and there's a whole lot of fucking Māoris in the audience, and they started chanting, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. So he brought me on. And, and these guys were like, oh, fuck it, and they started talking in the bar, and I'm like, true story. And you can please beep this, but I went, shut the fuck up, you black cunts. And they cracked up laughing.
It seems like that's a high-risk maneuver.
Yeah. And Howard,
yeah,
this guy's fucking awesome. And Andy come running up and grabbed the microphone and said, hey, man, if I'd said that, you guys would have killed me. And this guy went, I thought we told you to fuck off. So I did a killer half hour. Andy had done 10 minutes. We went up to get paid, and the publican says, I paid for 1 hour. This guy needed fucking 10 minutes. And Andy went, well, get fucked. And he went back down and he got on the microphone for exactly 20 minutes copying shit. But he did his shit. That's a pro. And then when he came off, we went up, now give us our fucking money, we're out of here. I love Andy Clay.
Yeah. Why? And it's good that you're giving him the praise that he deserves. Why don't you think he was as successful as what he should have been?
Because he's a white guy. He's a white guy in a show where, the stars of those times, because they were all involved, were Jeremy Corbett, John Bridges, David Downs.
Yeah, well, they're all white guys.
Yeah, but they started the comedy.
Right.
So there was no way they were going to let I'm not saying this was a conscious decision. Yeah. This is not a conscious decision. But there was no way in hell another white guy was going to come along and take their crown. And, I'm not saying that they did it and they blocked them or anything, but they were the ones that were picked by TV. Like, our first show on TV was a comedy gala, and Andy was out there telling jokes, and I came out with a sign saying, give back our land, honky, which was hilarious. Yeah. We smashed it. But because we were controversial, we got cut from the show. We were I'll say this without an ounce of fucking arrogance or anything. We were the best.
Yeah.
We smashed it. But I made a mistake. I went in, our first comedy gala, Willie DeWitt was mentoring me, and I love Willie for the fact that he helped me. And I walked out the back. There was a guy called he used to be Andy. What's his name from TVNZ? He only just
Andy Shaw.
Andy Shaw.
Yeah, that's right. He ended up being an executive,
and he was holding court
Yeah.
in the Civic in the dressing room, and all the comedians were there. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, has anyone seen Willie DeWitt in the middle of an Andrew Shaw story?" And he went, "What the fuck?" And there was a sea of comedians. He goes, "Who do you think you are?" And I looked at him and went, "Nice one, Stu." And I left.
A reference to Stu Dennison.
Yeah. And because they were competing, right?
Right.
Yeah. Stu was dressed as fucking guy from AC/DC, So,
school uniform.
Yeah.
Cat.
So, and I left, and I remember none of the comedians, they were all just, "Oh, fuck, we want to laugh, but this is our career." And so I left, and Kevin Smith came up to me, and he went, "Kingy, that's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen, but that's going to ruin your career." But my attitude back then was, well, I don't give a fuck what these people think. I don't care what they think. I'm not looking for a career in television. I'm a stand-up comedian, pure. And I say whatever the fuck I want to say. So that was always my attitude. And we'll let the people decide. And it was the people that decided that I should be on TV. And that's
ultimately, like if you've got enough love from the public and enough heat around you, then even if an executive's got an ego issue and doesn't like you, they're going to have to basically suck it up.
And it's a motto that I've taken through my whole career. Even in mental health, the same thing. I'm blocked at every avenue by academics, clinicians, and bureaucrats and government. Right, I'm blocked at every avenue. And as I keep saying to them, you can have all the evidence-based reports, you can have all the evaluated material, you can have all the academics and all the clinicians, and you can have all the money. But without the people, you ain't got shit. So fuck you. So
still defiant.
No, what do you got to? Fuck you, your bureaucratic arrogance. And it's the same with TVNZ. The bureaucratic arrogance. I remember, true fucking story. An executive at TVNZ told me that he made Billy T. James. The trouble with you, Mike, you're like Billy T. You don't listen. I made Billy T. James. When he came in here, he was me. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went home, and, internet was new. But I downloaded a fucking script to Friends, and I changed the name from Rangi to Fetu to Wayne and Daryl. And then I just changed the whole prop, and I took it and I said, he's talking to me. I said, I've got this fucking sitcom that I've written called Flatmates. Can you have a look at it? And he read it, and he flicked through it, and had his feet on his head, and he threw it at me. And he went, that is the most, that's the reason that's those characters unbelievable, and I pulled out the actual Friends script, and I threw it on his desk, and I went, you just ripped apart the number one comedy in the world. What the fuck do you know? And I walked out. And that was the target on my back from that day. But I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And you've got to have that I don't give a fuck attitude.
But where did that come from? Because by this stage you've got kids, you got a mortgage.
Yeah.
But see, I think that's the thing. People with those commitments, it's like they need to give a little bit of a fuck.
I planned. So I left the Merchant Navy. Leaving the Merchant Navy allowed me to pay off my house, and I had 2 years of reserve funding.
Right.
So I had 2 years to make this shit work.
Good runway.
So I just, and for me, I don't put a toe in the water, Dom. I've never put a toe in the water. I jump in both fucking feet. Yeah. I'm not scared of drowning. And I've done that through my whole life.
Well, you should have been. You only just learned to swim.
Yeah, I know, but that's me, you know. I think too often in this world, people are dipping toes in, and with our kids today, too many parents are working, put 99% of their energy into the kids' plan B. And it's not their plan B, it's your plan B. Yeah. My plan B was being a chef, and I had to wait till 34. I get it. I was lucky, though. I had Like, I looked like a kid, so it didn't matter that I started at 34. And I had maturity in behind me. I still looked like a kid, but I had maturity.
Yeah.
So, and I'd had, mongrel mob, merchant navy, like I had all of these life's experiences that I could call on.
And been through like a marriage breakup by then as well. I
was married to a lesbian woman who used to sleep with other men and other girls. She'd bring other girls home and make me sleep in the bedroom while they sleep, So I had all of this, my heart had been broken so many times. I've never felt like I was good enough. I've always had a massive inner critic telling me I had, I've lived with imposter syndrome my whole life.
It's funny you say that. I've got the same thing as well. And I watched a David Letterman thing on Netflix the other day. Billie Eilish, she's got it as well.
Well,
I feel like it's a Kiwi thing as well to a degree. No?
The biggest problem facing the world's young people today is an overactive inner critic, self-doubt. But what makes it so horrific is they're living in a world where everyone's got their mask on and pretending they've got their shit together.
Yeah.
There is no vulnerability in the world. And I knew 8, 9, 10 years ago that the new language of life is vulnerability. Vulnerability, truth and vulnerability is what is missing in life. I've been on about this since 2008, just sharing my story of thing, and then...
Yeah, so it was 2006 where you first came out and said you suffered depression.
Yeah.
Which was, well, by the way, we've been talking for 15 minutes and we haven't even scraped the fucking surface.
Part 1 of the My King podcast.
Yeah. But in this podcast, I asked people about their mental health, and I've had like so many messages from people saying, hey, it's good that you're talking about this. And I'm like, fuck no, it's not. Like Kerwin was doing this 30 years ago. You've been doing it for,
But the biggest problem facing people today is an overactive inner critic, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
We've all got self-doubt. But what makes it worse is everyone's wearing their masks and pretending they got their shit together, and everyone's looking at everyone else thinking they've got it all together.
Yeah.
And so they're in a crisis going, I'm the only one. I'm the only one. That's what our kids are living with.
Yeah,
so if you're constantly being reminded of your flaws, if you're constantly being told what you do, and you are not seeing any vulnerability, you're not hearing any messages of struggle, and the only time you hear those messages of struggle is when you mention you're struggling. I know what it's like. Yeah, Dom, hey, plenty of other fish in the sea, mate. I had lost my first love too. Here, let me tell you the story. What you think you're saying is this is a universal experience. What our kids are hearing is, shit. So I start talking about me, and you make it all about you.
Yeah.
And you came out the other side. You're useless. You're hopeless. Everyone's better than you. This has created the most toxic environment, that there's ever been in the mental health sector.
Yeah.
And my generation blame young people. They blame social media. See, it's human nature to blame everything around. Oh, this is what happened and that's what happened. Someone kills themselves because the girlfriend broke up. So it's the girlfriend's fault. No, it's not. That's just the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. There is a whole lot of layers. And this is what we do, though. We focus on the behaviour. I was down in Otago University yesterday talking to a professor that I want some help with and he was doing a study. And he wanted to know the effects of job loss, relationship breakups on suicide. And I had to tell him, dude, you're missing the reason people are taking their lives. It's not an impulsive act. This one thing, that wasn't that was just the final straw. Imagine this. You're a kid. You're a young boy. You've never felt valued. You've never felt like anyone cares. You're looking at yourself physically and go, fucking no one's ever going to love me. I'm a loser. You get your first girlfriend. Oh, man, this girl loves me. But now you start thinking, what if she leaves me? So suddenly, where are you going? What are you going there for? I want to come too. I want to be with you. You become a power stuck to the rock. You're so clingy that this girl goes, fuck, I can't handle this, I can't breathe, and she leaves. So now you're going, well, that's it.
You're
never going to get it.
Yeah.
Bam, I'm gone. and then we go, it's about the guilt. No, that is just the final thing. It's the build-up. The single thing behind the majority of suicides is an overactive inner critic. Tell me this. Do you think Robin Williams was sitting in his room in the last minutes going, wow, I'm having such a great day, billions of people love me, what can I do? I know, I'll kill myself. I guarantee you he was sitting there and having the same conversation that everyone has. Everyone will be better off without you. You're a burden to everyone. You know, all of these little things, you're better off gone. And we did a study on this using letters that the Ministry of Health ignored. 3 big things that we got out of our study was those who ended their life through suicide didn't want to die.
Yeah.
They wanted their pain to end. They couldn't live with the pain. 1, the majority knew that they were loved, but love wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And the majority felt like they were a burden and everyone would be better off without them. And finally, it wasn't an impulsive act. The overwhelming majority of people had long-term issues that they either never discussed with anybody for fear of rejection. They couldn't find the help that they needed. They got the help, but it came too late. Or the help that was offered wasn't going to help them.
Hey, so what you were saying about the internal voice thing, I fully agree with you. It's like the biggest bully I've got in my life is me.
You would never let anyone talk to you the way you talk yourself, right?
But it makes absolutely no sense. But how do you fix that? How do you stop that? What's the solution?
Normalize it. So I Am Hope, what we do in schools is we normalize the inner critic, but we don't take a prescriptive approach. We don't walk into schools and go, this is what you're doing, this is what you need to do to fix it. That's what everyone does. So we use a descriptive approach. We talk about our demons growing up. We allow young people to recognize themselves in our story, and we show them how many people, go through it. So I might share a story about, not being able to take a compliment. Someone come around and compliment me on a painting. Oh, bro, who painted the wall? Yeah, I painted the wall, trying to play. Yeah, I painted the wall. What's it mean? Bro, I didn't know you was a painter. Man, you could do that professionally, bro. And all I'm thinking is, but I didn't cut it in properly over there. The colours don't match there. I should have sanded that back better. It's a shit paint job. I'm a shit painter. And then I'll go, how many of you kids think like that? Hands up. Don't look, just look at me. Hands up. And all the hands go up. I said, now look around. Look around. And the next sound you hear is a room full of kids go, holy, look at all these, look. So we normalize it. And I said, so look how many people have this, but you never admitted it till today, have you? No one has ever admitted it. Everyone struggles. I remember going into a school, and so we just use the hands up, and now look around, and we normalize the inner critic. I did a school. A teacher said, I got a Māori boy here, country school, got a Māori boy here. He's very angry. Can you talk to him? So I went to talk to him. Hey, man, how's it going? I'm all right. I was like, yeah, cool, bro, cool. Oh, well, good to see you, my bro. And, I might have a chat with you after come and listen to the talk. You might find it interesting. You might not. I don't care. So I went up on stage and I told the story and I did my thing. And at the end of the talk, this Māori boy comes up, right? And he's beaming. I said, hey, hotshot, what happened to you, man? You look happy. He goes, man, it's so cool to know I'm not the only one that's fucked in the head. And that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you know everyone else is struggling but they're faking it, the load gets lifted off. So the inner critic and the voice of reason are the two constant in every human's life, right? But the inner critic used to keep us safe. Because if you didn't have an inner critic, if you didn't have this doubt, you'd walk up, oh, there's a lovely dinosaur. Holy shit, it's eating me, right? So it warned you of danger, right? Yeah. But when there is no danger, it turns on you and it makes things dangerous. So the inner critic should be 30-70. 30% inner critic, 70% voice of reason. I can tell you now factually that the inner critic controls 95% of our life and only 5% is the voice of reason. The voice of reason has quieted down because we're all riddled with self-doubt and we're all seeing this perfection and we think it's only us. 80% of suicidal kids never ask for help, and the reason they never ask for help is because they're worried about what society's going to think, say, or do, and they're worried about disappointing their parents. That's the number one thing kids say. I'm worried about disappointing my parents. Sacrificed everything. They've worked 2 jobs. They built a factory with their bare hands when they were 8 years old, and they've given me everything, and I don't want to go back to them and disappoint them. Yeah. So, 4th thing, they're worried about what everyone's going to think, say, or do, and they're worried about disappointing people. What's our message to those kids? Hey, if you're in trouble, reach out and ask for help. That's an oxymoron. That's stupid. Why do we continue to put pressure on our most vulnerable to make the first move?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because it's something I've always thought. It's like everyone says, hey, if you ever need to reach out, just call me anytime, day or night. But that's putting the onus on the sick person.
Yeah, that's right. Why do we, what the question needs to be is everyone needs to go home, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what are you doing to make it easy for your friends and kids to ask for help? If you haven't had a mate come to you in the last 6 months crying and talking about his feelings, not my kids are assholes and ungrateful shits and my wife's a bitch, actually talking about feelings. If you haven't had a kid come to you and talk about their feelings, you're the problem. You're the problem. And not because you're a bad person, but you're just someone that I feel I can't talk to because you're too perfect. And making yourself available to people isn't this, dude. Hey guys, if you're feeling suicidal, you can come to me. I'm there 24/7. Making yourself available is making yourself vulnerable. Yeah. Sharing. When you get home from work, your kids know that you've had a shit day. They know something's on your mind. But if you don't share that with them, if you don't share the reason for that with them, they'll make it about themselves. Everything is about you. So you get home from work, your kid says, hey, Dad, how was your day? Fuck, my day was shit. Give me a fucking beer. I'm on the couch, right? Now your kid's walking to the fridge going, what the hell did you do to Dad? You must have done something, Dad. You're always pissing Dad off. As soon as he saw you, he was pissed off. But if you got home and go, son, I had the shittiest day. I yelled at one of my employees or one of my co-workers. I made a real dick of myself. Oh, man, I don't know what to say to that guy when I get there tomorrow. But, dude, thank you for noticing. Yeah. Thank you for being there for me, man. Give me a hug. I love you. Now, go to the fridge, get me a beer. I'll be on the couch. And your kid's going to walk to the fridge and he's going to be going, I fucking helped my dad. I was there for my dad. Yeah. And it's a complete, and that builds that self-esteem, that sense of value, right? So every kid in New Zealand should feel good about themselves. They should feel, when they walk into a room, they should feel appreciated by their friends. They should feel loved by their families. Sadly, we've got kids out there who don't feel like good about themselves. They feel like nobody respects them and no one cares. And as a result of those two things, they shut down from their family and their relationship is shit. So we need to rebuild from the ground up. And in order for that to happen, my generation has to change. I'm sick of people coming up to me and saying, what's wrong with these kids these days? This is the greatest generation of kids in the history of the world. They have more empathy, more sympathy. They have more great ideas. They have more caring than any other generation in the history of the world. We are fucking them up with our old school, protect, provide, give your kids a better opportunity and never show weakness. Yeah. And we need to change. Stop telling kids what to do. Start showing them what to do. Yeah.
Jeez, oh my God, we've been talking for an hour. Have you got anywhere to be? Or? No? Okay, cool. I'm loving this chat. And there's still so much more to... Shit, you've done the work, eh? You've done with your comedy, you did the work and you got very good. And now I can tell you've put the same energy and enthusiasm into this stuff.
What I did, but I did what everyone else... I didn't learn in books. In the last 10 years, I've spoken to nearly 300,000 kids personally. When they contact you, it's a genuine contact. I give my number out to corporates and I get wankers trying to sell me shit. These kids are genuinely there, and 9 out of 10 times it's concerned for someone else.
Yeah.
I got a friend who's this and I got a friend who's that. Or it's about themselves and they just need reassurance that, one, there is someone there, and two, that their thoughts are normal. So I've been out, I've done the yards, and everything I say is not my opinion. This is what kids are telling me. And so when I get people, well, that's your opinion. No, actually, it's not my opinion.
You're just passing on feedback.
Yeah, this is what your kids are telling me. Well, I disagree. Well, that's like saying, dude, I've just told you I like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and you've gone, I disagree. And I said,
everyone likes K-fried.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
You can't disagree with this.
Yeah.
You can't disagree with a fact. You're a busy man, Dom. You're a busy man.
Yeah, so you came out and said you suffered from depression in 2006. Do you think it had been there your whole life? You were an angry dude for a while.
Yeah.
Was that just your way of like projecting the depression?
Well, yeah, of course. So when I got famous, that was supposed to change my life. I always thought fame and fortune was the ultimate goal, being world best at whatever it is, right? And in my mind, I expected that moment was going to be big. It was like these two gates would open, golden gates would open. There'd be a ticker tape parade.
The king had arrived.
And people would be throwing confetti and singing your name. Girls would be throwing panties. It was the ultimate, right?
Yeah,
it's like winning lotto. $1 billion to one shot, and I fucking got it. I was the first. And then these gates open, and there was my big head going, you're still a fucking loser. You should be flipping burgers. And for me, when your whole life had been set for this moment and it didn't pan out, for me, that's when my inner critic got really loud and it was constantly taunting me. And that's when the drug and alcohol use took over.
Yeah, now, so you loved your Coke, eh?
I love my Coke. I started a travel agency, Dom, when Coke was in short supply in New Zealand, just so I could fly around the world when it ran out. How crazy is that shit?
So I'm guessing like it started as like a fun thing. So you do a show, or whatever, have a bag of gear, and then
so the first time I tried Coke was in 96.
Right.
1996. I was at a gig in Monaco. I was with another American comedian called Todd Hanford, and we just finished this gig, and a guy came over, and he shook my hand and said, that was amazing, and he palmed me some gear, right? Now, lots of people have been palming me gear. It was usually always weed. And so I got this thing, and I went into the toilet, and it was a block of Coke. And I didn't know really what Coke was, so I said to my American comedian, hey, man, what's this here? Hey. hey. So he dropped down the toilet seat, and he lined us up 2 lines, and I smashed my line, and then I immediately vomited, just fucking, whoa, what the fuck is happening? And I threw up, and everything that I've become addicted to in my life, alcohol, I threw up. Cigarettes, I threw up. Coke, I threw up, right? So I thought, I'll never get addicted to this shit. What a fucking, if this is what this shit is, I'm out. As soon as I walked out back into the bar, every single conversation in this place was crystal clear to me. I could hear different groups talking. There was a group of university students who just lost a friend of theirs. There was another group of people that were going to get married. But I could hear every conversation. These university students were talking about some scientific thing. And out of my ring binder of memories, something popped up that was associated. So I was able to enjoy the conversation. And these people were like, holy shit, you're a whole lot more intelligent. But when I talked to the people that just lost them, my empathy level was right there. I could reach the level of every single one. And it was like magic. For a comedian to be that connected with people in the room, that was like the ultimate.
So you felt like it made you a better person immediately, like it gave
huge,
you
of course.
It turns a lot of people into a dick, like they're just like
and it does eventually.
Conversation hogs.
And it does eventually, and that's exactly what happened. After years of use, of course, that's what happened. So, and then in 1997, maybe 8 months later, I end up going to London and spending 6 months on the 6 or 8 weeks on the scene up there. And same thing, I did a gig, and a skeezer come up to me afterwards. Yeah, if you ever need, the rings, the whole 9 yards, the two floozies. He was a local drug dealer. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, you give me a call. That was the funniest thing I've seen. So for the next 6 weeks, I was in coke heaven. I didn't have to pay, but it was only 50 quid.
Yeah.
50 quid a gram, So, and it was a real deal. Not like the shit that they were selling back here. And so for me, that was, and then I ended up in Vegas and,
So when did it stop being fun and start being a chore or?
It never stopped being fun. It never, ever stopped being fun.
Yeah, but
okay. I knew it was destroying me.
Yeah.
I knew it was destroying me. I knew, the stage of my career, I was a bit like 660. I'd done all the town hall tours. You can only do town halls. You can only play Eden Park a certain amount of times. And then the rooms get smaller. The first town hall tour I ever did was in 2000 with Radar. We sold out, the St. James Theatre fucking twice.
Yeah.
Not once, twice. We were playing every major town hall in the country, man, Like, I had that much money, on this tour, I used to get my manager to come and pick up a fucking briefcase of cash and take it home,
Wow.
It was ridiculous. It was a ridiculous time, I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I start out with, an hour of material. I get home with 3 hours of material because so many things were happening and the coke was flowing, so ideas were flowing, and I was just living and breathing comedy 24/7. But the room started getting smaller, and the cost of the coke was getting higher and higher and higher, and I was, when you're worrying about finances, you end up being an asshole, and you're blaming everybody else, and young ones were coming up, and then the fucking newsboy thing started,
Oh yeah. So now that you bring that, like most people wouldn't remember that, but So there was a sketch on like eating media lunch or one of the
and that
shows.
show wasn't fucking rating at all.
Right.
There was no.
It was a niche sort of show, not a mainstream show.
It was on at 10:30 at night, and there was a dog that was Mike King, and he was snorting fucking or smoking pee or something, and of course I was. But, of course, I went into denial saying, how fucking dare you? Like, you've crossed the line.
Yeah, so you left a voicemail message saying...
I left it on a mate's phone.
Right.
You tell your fucked up friend that he's fucking with the wrong guy. But for me, right, I'm old school. Yeah. I'm old school. Yeah. You don't knock on people, You just fucking don't. You do the lag, So, these new kids, they don't give a fuck. So he passed it on to Jeremy Wells, and Jeremy posted it up. And I was clear.
It was a big deal at the time.
Well, here's my fucking phone number. Call me, cunt.
Yeah.
And I put my phone number on there, and he didn't take the phone number off, and he broadcasted it. And that basically launched his career. And if I'm being honest, I'm still a little resentful of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you seen Jeremy? Or
yeah,
to him?
I have. I've learnt from the experience, and I've told him, it was probably the best thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah.
But I'm still old school. You know what it's like. You've been in radio.
Yeah.
You know, you've had people come up to you and go, Dom, I fucking don't like you. I never fucking like. I don't listen to your shit. Yeah. You know my response to that? Thank you.
Yeah.
What? I've just fucking told you you're an asshole. Thank you. What do you mean? I said, I'm just thankful I gave you the opportunity to get that off your chest. Now you don't have to carry it around anymore. I'm an arsehole. Guess what? I think I'm an arsehole sometimes too.
Yeah.
So,
we talked about the inner critic before. It's like, you think I'm an arsehole. You could never think I'm a big an arsehole than I think of myself.
That's right. So,
the Jeremy Wells thing, like that angry message was part of that your depression, do you think?
No,
you're
because...
angry and didn't know how to express?
No, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
He told the world the truth. I was a fucking drug addict. I thought I had it well hidden. But I was a fucking drug addict. And he outed me to the world. He broke the code. He knocked on me to the world. And that's what, like, I'm still in the mongrel mob mentality. You know, you knock, you fucking die. That was my, so he told the truth. And I was in denial. You know, and so at the time, that's what hurt, is he told the truth and I wasn't ready to face the truth. And that's what made me angry. And so I went straight into denial mode and I went straight into attack mode, which has always been, how I've operated.
You sort of fight your way out of things or
of course.
Retaliate.
Let's find this alleyway, dude, and let's sort this out. That was my mentality.
Yeah.
And the irony is, he'd probably give me a fucking good hiding.
I don't know. It needs some rules, like just no face punches. Okay, so you said before, like you bought a travel agency?
Yeah. Travel King.
Oh, really?
You're travelling in the right company. Well, our logo was a Playboy bunny smoking a cigar.
Right.
You notice I'm pinching my nose as we talk about this.
Bringing back memories.
I'm just like, hey, yeah. But that was just a time. That was a time. Am I proud of that time in my life? No, not really. Would I change it? No. It gave me legitimate experiences. You can't. Other people would read about this shit in a book and then speak like experts. You've got to live it, man.
Yeah. And I suppose all these experiences brought you to where you are and the man you are today.
That's right.
But, so through this travel agency, you ended up, where were you? You're in a hotel somewhere, like Hong Kong or something.
Yeah, I was in a Hong Kong hotel. Yeah. So what happened was I had in 2007.
Yeah.
I had a massive stroke. I was over...
That's in Melbourne. You were in Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne. I was playing in the Aussie Millions Poker Tournament, $10,500 entry fee. I was taking a shit. I had a massive stroke and my mate saved my life. I had locked-in syndrome, so I was a complete fucking dribbler. On the stroke...
So how long?
Not that long, maybe 8 hours, but it was a lifetime.
Fuck, terrifying.
Yeah, so... I have locked-in syndrome. I can hear everything. I can understand what everyone's saying. I can converse in my head. But the only thing coming out of my mouth was dribble. My eyes, my face had dropped, the whole 9 yards. And so I have this stroke. I go to the hospital. I hear the doctor saying, where's his wife? My mate said she's on her way. Good. He said she'll be here this afternoon. He goes, too late. You got 4 hours to get this thrombolizing drug in him. And my mate said, I'll give you permission. He goes, no, because if we give him, he could die. So either he gives us permission or his wife gives us permission.
So you couldn't even give the thumbs up or anything?
Oh, in my head I'm going, give me the fucking, give me the drug. So my mate grabbed my head and started yelling at me, the Mad Butcher, like, come on, mate, and it registered. And his breath stunk. I'll never forget that. like he hadn't brushed his teeth. He hadn't done anything, and his breath, fucking Richie, your breath stinks. And he got me out. It took me half an hour to actually formulate words. And the first sentence out of my mouth was, give me the drug. And the guy went, give me the fucking drug. I tried to get up off the table to show him that I was, no, stay there. You've got the drug. But we need to do a CAT scan first. They put me in the machine, and I had another stroke in the machine. Now, that was terrifying. It's like you're nearly drowning, you're about to be pulled into the boat, and someone goes, nah, and pushes you back under the water.
What does a stroke feel like?
It feels like, for me, it's different for people. Some people have pain. But for me, it was like, when you stand up too quick, and then you get that, whoa, and you're in a permanent state of, whoa, and you're waiting for it to clear, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and so you're living in this kind of echoey world. I can hear everyone again, and the nurse has been talking to me, and I'd been talking back to her, and then she pulled me out. She went, "Oh, I wondered where you've gone. You've had another stroke." And they took me into the other room, and the doc said, "Well, we can't give him the drug." And my mate looked at the doctor and went, "He gave you fucking permission. I was here." He go, "All right, I'll fucking give him the drug." So he gave me the drug, and I came out of it. So
that's as close to death as anyone would want to get.
What was terrifying wasn't the thought of death. What was terrifying when I was lying there in the second stroke, it was like, someone's going to have to wipe my ass for the rest of my life. Someone is going to have to fucking spoon feed me baby food for the rest of my life. So when I came out of the stroke for the second time, I grabbed my mate's shirt, I pulled him down, and I said, "If I go back, pillow me." And it was all a phase.
Do you think he would have done that for you?
No, well, here's the thing. I got home 6 weeks, 6 weeks later, I invite Richie and his wife up. And my mind's still a blur, And I pull them out to the garage. And I didn't know if I'd said it or not. And I said to Rich, in the garage having a beer, and I said, "Did I say anything to you when I was in Melbourne?" He goes, No. "Oh, why?" He goes, "I just thought I'd said something. Obviously, I just imagined it." And no. Okay, I never said anything. He goes, "What, pillow me?" And I was like, "Fuck, I did say it." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Would you?" And he goes, "Well, we'll never know, will we?" And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I spent the next 2 years in a fog, but I vowed to give up. I vowed to give up drugs, and I was committed. 2 days out of hospital with my poker mates, come into the toilets for we've got a line for you. I've just had a fucking stroke, man. I'm not going to have that. And I was determined. Then I got home and I had a block of coke in the house I called Titanic. It was fucking monstrous.
Like an iceberg.
Yeah. It was fucking, and it was pure. And I could hear it calling me as I'm, driving home. I'm not supposed to be drive home.
Yeah.
Drive down the driveway, and I started chopping up. And
it's remarkable. You think like a near-death experience like that'd be enough to scare you straight?
No, that's the hold it had on me.
Ah.
So I get so then I was when Titanic ran out, I was able to give up.
How many grams was Titanic? What do you reckon?
Oh, she would have been close to an ounce.
Right. How many grams are in an ounce? You have to excuse my ignorance here.
32.
Fuck. So this is like 10 grand worth?
Yeah, easy.
Fucking hell.
And not chopped either. So it was like, they started chopping it all up when we got back to Titanic was massive. Yeah, so anyway, I gave up for 3 weeks, and then I had a tour to the Hong Kong 7. So I'd given up drinking, cigarettes, and I was on the straight and narrow, and my voice of reason, "Oh yeah, Mikey, we've got this," and the inner critic was yelling, but the voice of reason. And so I get over to what's the name. There's lots of alcohol, I'm on a Travel King tour, so we've got a whole lot of expectant people. I get everyone sorted out, I sit them up, and I refuse to go to the game. I can't go to the game because I'll start. So I'm in Wan Chai, which is the big party place.
Yeah.
And I'm in Wan Chai, and I'm just aimlessly wandering around, and a Māori boy comes walking down the street. "Brother, hey, Mikey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm just wandering around, got a team here." "You're not going to the Sevens?" "Nah, I'm bored with footy." He goes, "Let's go have a beer, bro." And I'm like, "Man, I just gave up." And he said these words, I'll never forget it. "You've given up in New Zealand, bro." And I went, "Fuck, you're right." Straight in, "I'll have a Heineken." He went at a Heineken. First fella walked past, could I have one of those fucking cigarettes? Puffing away, and then I'm straight into my dealer. Go, "Hey, how are you?"
How do you have a dealer? Did you just have a dealer in every country? Right.
Man, and
Hong Kong sounds like a dangerous place to be doing Class A gear.
No, it's very safe.
Yeah.
It's like,
in terms of the penalty if you get caught, or
Yeah, but
consequences.
the people you buy off are basically buying the police off. So
Right, okay.
So I get him, and I get half an ounce of coke. He goes, "I've been waiting for your call. What's been happening?" Da da da. And I like, just fucking drop me the gear, would you? So and then I went back to my hotel, and then I started snorting, and then I got really fucking angry with myself. I couldn't even
You let
fucking
yourself down. Yeah.
I couldn't fucking, and I just started snorting, and then I just wanted to die, and I didn't want to hang myself or OD on anything else because that would affect my family. But in my head, it made sense that my king rock and roller went out ODing on coke.
Yeah, it's like a real Belushi way to go out, isn't it?
So I just snorted everything that I could and passed out on the floor. And
so in a way, it was like a suicide. It was kind of a suicide.
that was a suicide. No, I wanted to die.
Right.
That was my plan. I was just going to die. I've just snorted enough coke to kill me. And half an ounce is a pretty good job. You more than enough to die.
Yeah.
And I passed out. And when I was passed out, my then 8-year-old daughter magically appeared sitting on my chest going, "What are you doing, Dad? Why are you doing this? We need you at home. You shouldn't be doing this." And it was like she was fucking right there. And I woke up and I went, "What the fuck?" I flushed what I had left of the cocaine down the toilet, rang Air New Zealand, booked a flight back home, and got off the plane. I fell out of the plane on April 1st, 2007, and haven't picked up since.
Wow.
Yeah, so I gave up drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes on the same day,
Right.
and just gone through 15 years.
Your life's been miserable ever since. No.
People used to say to me in those years, coming back, and they go, "You look great." Yeah, I look great on the outside. I feel like shit on the inside. When I was with the coke, I looked fucking shit on the outside, but I felt fucking great on the inside. But it's been a journey. It's been really, really, really hard,
And I suppose now...
And I'm a guy that protects myself. So when I was doing comedy, everyone goes, "You treat your wife like a fishwife." No, I'm protecting myself. If I sleep with one woman, I've got to sleep with 1,000. So I made it very clear in my comedy that I was married because I didn't want to fall into that trap.
Right.
So when I...
Well, you mean in terms of your addictive personality?
Yeah. So it was a protection. So I'd be sitting in bars with a woman and people come up and go, "That's not your wife. Who's this?" It's actually my sister-in-law. "Here's my wife coming." "Oh, sorry, Mike, I didn't..." So it was designed to keep me safe. And so then coming out about my drug addiction was the next logical step. It was always designed to keep me safe.
Yeah, okay.
I had no plan. It was just like, if you're going to do this, this is what we're going to do. And then I had a whole lot of people watching for me. If I went to the toilet, people would magically appear. "Just saw you coming in for a chop, mate. Hey?" Yeah, so,
So have you been offered it since?
Oh, heaps.
Yeah, and
Come on, bro. It's just us, man. Just us. You can have one. Come on, bro.
no desire anymore?
Oh,
Or
the
is it-
desire
yeah, okay,
never
yeah.
goes. It never goes, right? I always thought, Dom, that I could go back and have a beer, And last Christmas, I discovered Heineken Zero. I knocked off that first box in about 20 minutes. Seriously. And then the next day was another box, and the next day was another box.
Yeah,
And, my wife went...
But why Heineken Zero? Like it tastes the same as normal Heineken,
Yeah, I
but
know.
you're not getting any kick out of it, any
It
buzz.
just like the first time I drank the box, I got faux drunk. My wife says, "You're getting louder." "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." I got fucking faux drunk, because I hadn't, and it was, in the end, after a few days, my wife said, "You can't do this, like, look at you, you're just fucking going nuts on this shit." So we had a rule. For every hour of yard work that I did, I was allowed a beer. So that's when I started gardening 24 hours a day. But
It's 2 a.m. Where's Mike?
I'm in the garden, doll. Now, so I've given it up again.
Yeah,
Just But it was a happy reminder. Like, the thing that I miss the most out of everything is cigarettes.
Is that so?
I love I love the smell of cigarettes. All these people, I hate the smell of smoke. Well, fuck you. I love it. Like people get in my car, you don't smoke. Fucking light up, blow that shit on me. I love that shit. No, I'm not going to smoke in your car. So I've got an addictive personality.
Yeah. Was it hard going off all that stuff, and particularly the alcohol and the coke and the weed, and then just having to I don't know. I suppose you feel particularly vulnerable at that point. Like you're not taking anything to mask your emotions or your feelings.
And I'm not going, like my mates say, go to AA, go to NA, go to all these. But what, you want me to get fucking addicted to a god of my choice? That's not for me. It's just not for me.
Yeah, it works for some, but whatever.
I'm from the school of whatever works, but I'm pig-headed. Yeah. And then one day I discovered something. Like I'm an addict, Dom. So why don't you use my addictive personality for good? So I got addicted to being clean and sober. Yeah. So I counted. I counted days. How are you, Mike? 833, dude. I'm fucking awesome. Well, I've been 833 days. So I would just count days. Count days. For 10 years I counted days.
I was going to ask if you still do it now. You must be like 5,000.
I have no clue where I'm at now. I just don't bother. But that's what I needed to do to get me through. I got addicted to use my addictive personality for good.
So, so it was around this time, like 2007, 8, 9, whatever, that you came out publicly and said you suffered depression. Was that a big call? Why did you decide to do that?
Again, it happened accidentally, really. So I'm at home, I'm depressed, I'm not going anywhere. Willie Jackson's worrying about me, right? He's on radio. Yeah. He's on Radio Live, and he's worrying about me. You need to go back to work. Fuck you. I don't need to go back to work. I'm fine. You need to get... Fuck you. You get out of the house. I'm not getting out of the house. And he goes, Martin Crump's going off for a week. I'm going to get you that job. You're going to come in and do the... I don't want to do the fucking radio. You need to get out.
What a good mate.
So I went in to Radio Live and 0800 746 725 Radio Live. I'm my king, And I started reading out the headlines. Today the da-da-da. If you've got a da-da-da, interest rates have gone up 0.2%. If you're going to struggle with the interest rate, give us a call. But everyone had done these topics all day, right? Yeah. And then I come back and I look at the board, no calls. Hey, da-da-da, there's a piece of paper lying down the street. If you have people lying in your street, give us a call. 0800 725 Radio Live. And we're going to go to another break. And 20 past 10, 25 past 10.
At night?
Yeah. Yeah. Producer goes, we're going to go to break. No more breaks. And then my inner critic started, just start swearing. If you start swearing, people will call. Don't you? Just tell the truth. Tell them there's no one there. So I had this big fucking war going on in my head, and it was dead air for 30 seconds, and I'm just closing my eyes, and then I went, fuck it, just tell the truth. Yeah. And I just told her, I said, hey, Ron, there are no calls. There have been no calls. I've been lying to you for the last 20 minutes, and if no one calls in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to start talking to the voices in my head. Then I closed my eyes, and I started talking. The reason no one's calling is because no one likes you. Oh, people like you. They're probably eating dinner. It's 20 past 10 at night. Yeah. No one eats dinner at 20 past 10 at night. You're just a loser. Why do you always call Michael a loser? Why do you always call him Michael? And this stream of unconscious thought came out of my mouth. And then my producer went, you better take the calls. And I had a full board. And the first fellow I talked to was a fellow, a Māori boy called Rangi. I knew his Māori because his name was Rangi. And the first thing he said to me was, Bro, I have those voices too. And as soon as he said that, I just felt a connection. So me and Rangi, we had a conversation, all 8 of us, and we were just talking. And then the next call, and then the next call. And then I had a 12-year-old girl call in. And she was like, she was crying. She goes, this is never, like I've been having mental health issues and what you're describing is exactly what it is. And Caitlin was her name. I invited Caitlin's whole family up to the studio the next night and they all came up, all of these people who were just connected. Yeah. And
That must have felt so good.
Yeah, well, then the next day I went in. We had full border. So the next day I go in and I say, we can talk about all this shit or we can talk about what we were talking about last time. Full board of calls. And then by the end of the week, we were the Nutters Club. Hey, this is the Nutters Club.
It's still going. You're not involved with it anymore, but it's still going to this day, isn't it?
It's still
the
going
Nutters Club?
on News Talk ZB with Hamish and Kyle. I just, I couldn't do it anymore. Physically, I couldn't do it. 11 to 1, I'm in the schools on Monday morning, and I'm up at 5, so I get to bed at 3. I've got 2 hours sleep. Monday's easy, I can get 3 hours. Tuesday's killed me. It was like the morning after the night before.
Yeah.
And in the end, I just had to make a call.
Yeah.
And my focus wasn't on everyone's mental well-being by that stage. It was on kids. And so I spent the next 5 years researching and listening. When I first started, I was like everyone. I wanted to go in, and I thought I had all the answers, and I was going to do this, and I was going to do that, and I was going to do this. And then after speaking in the first few schools, I realized I didn't know what the problem was.
Yeah.
So I lost board members because they were like, we need to reproduce my kings. We need to get my kings out there. And I'm like, just slow down. I don't know what the problem is. Once we discover what the problem is, then we can set about our task in earnest. And it took me 5 or 6 years to understand that the biggest problem we've got is imposter syndrome and overactive inner critic. And now it's so obvious, yet we've got all of these agencies that won't even listen. They don't even believe it. No, that's not. The biggest problem is depression, it's anxiety. No, these are the outcomes of an overactive inner critic, you fucking moron. We're always focusing on behavior. We're never asked what drives the behavior. Eating disorders are the biggest problem facing young people today. Yet when you go to the eating disorder clinic, they make it about the food. My daughter's got an eating disorder. And we go to the eating disorder clinic and, right, we're all going to have a shared lunch today so your lovely daughter can see what it's like to eat. And every time she says something, that's not her speaking, that's Anna. That's Anna speaking. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, anorexia. Yeah. Right,
and then one day my daughter said after 4 sessions, she goes, my problem's not food, eh? Food's not my problem. The problem, if it wasn't food, it'd be alcohol, it would be drugs, it would be boys, it would be the gym. I want to know why my brain is making it about the food. And that was the last session we had there. Right. But we focus on behavior. Yeah. Like we do it with everything. Drug dealers, drugs, throw all the dealers in jail. Let's ask the serious question, why are there so many people today that need to be on drugs? What are the drugs doing? And in 90% of the cases, brother, it's shutting that fucking self-doubt up. Yeah. It's always alcohol, same thing. It gives you a break from
temporary
yourself.
Release, you're escaping.
It's the relentless pursuit of temporary happiness. Yeah. And the irony is people say to me, like my friends, what's it like being an addict? You tell me. I'm not an addict. Dude, you go to the gym 7 days a week. You miss a day, you turn into an arsehole, oh, bro, what's it like hiding things from the missus? You tell me. I don't hide things. Dude, you play golf 3 times a week. Your missus thinks you play once a fortnight. You're fucking lying, you know. So the thing that most men are addicted to more than anything else is work. I fire money at the problem. I've got troubles at home. I've got fucking troubles with self-esteem. And to cover it all up, I fucking throw money at it. Yeah.
So when was I Am Hope born? When did that come about?
That was just an accident, really. I was working with some suicidal kids. And I was talking to them saying, how come we never talk? Because we don't know who's safe. What does that mean? We don't know who's going to judge me. We don't know who's going to gossip about me. I don't know. I don't know who's safe. I don't want to be ridiculed. I don't want to be pointed at. I said, so, we need to do something about that. Why don't we come up with something that signals I am safe? And they came up with a wristband that says, I am hope. If you're, if you're wearing the wristband, what you're saying to people is, I won't judge you. I won't fucking gossip about you. I'll be there for you. Most importantly, I won't try and fix you. I'm not qualified to fix you. I won't take on your problem. I'm not qualified, but I'm here to listen. And if you need help, I'll go with you. Yeah. But if you need to offload shit, I will sit here and listen. I will call time on the conversation if I need to. Yeah. but I'm feeling you, and I have experiences that, similar to yours. So I Am Hope was born, and, and it just took off. I couldn't believe it.
Like in a big way.
Yeah, I just had no idea that it was going to take off, and, it's around the kids. And so when we were doing our I Am Hope talks, the biggest thing that happened, so we talk about our experiences and we would encourage counselling. Why? Because my counsellor saved my life. And I was saying to the kids, look, ignore what the counsellor looks like. It's someone that's not from your circle. It's someone that doesn't have your background. Go to this independent person. And I'd shared my experience. So we made counselling cool. Problem was, some schools didn't have counsellors, and in some schools, the counsellor there was related to mum in some way, or was a teacher, and they didn't feel like they could talk. So they'd contact me, and I'd say, just go and see someone private. I'll find you someone private, and I will pay for it. By 2018, those private sessions, which we didn't advertise, were running at about $10,000 a month. So we were paying about $10,000 a month for private sessions. Yeah. And then someone came up with the Gumboot Friday idea, having depression is like walking through mud. Most people are hiding it. Why don't we all put on gumboots so people who have depression can see people in gumboots and know that these are people that care, and we can raise money for them. And they said we can raise money for your charity. And straight away I went, why don't we raise money for free counselling? But unlike other charities, why don't we donate 100% of the funds to counselling? So I set up a bank account with Kiwi Bank, and the only way it can come out was with an invoice from a counsellor, and we will cover the admin. I'm already paying $120,000 a year in free counselling. That should be more than enough to cover the yearly rate of of the admin. So that's what we do. Unfortunately now there's it runs at about 10% the admin. So we've only got enough to cover 1.2. But I just work my ass off, going around to corporates and going around to well-meaning people and asking them to help me with the admin. And the admin, none of it comes to us. We outsource the admin. We outsource it to, and 100% of that money goes to them. We don't clip the ticket. Yeah. It's for me. My big thing with people who are collecting money for charity is I always go, how much of my $10 is going to you? Yeah.
And I always ask very thirsty charities.
And I always ask the kids, so do you volunteering for this? Oh no, we get minimum wage. So you're being paid to do this. So some of this money is going to you. No offense, but I'm not. And I got my own charity. So I just wanted to do something that our kids could use. And why counselling this way? Because in order for a kid to get free counselling in this country through the Ministry of Health, you have to go to the doctor. The doctor has to diagnose you mentally ill. That stigma follows you because it's on your records for the rest of your life. Then you...
it makes it hard to get insurance and all sorts of things.
Then next thing, you're also on a long waiting list, and then, you're by the end of getting in to see someone, they're often burnt out and they don't have time. Yeah. So this way here is... this way here is get in early. So the government the Ministry of Health see counselling as a crisis situation. We see it as a preventative situation. So you go and see a counsellor when you're in crisis. Too late when you're in fucking crisis.
Yeah.
Now you need the hospital. Our whole thing is, if you see a counsellor about a little problem, it doesn't come to be a big problem, and they just help unscramble thoughts. They don't fix you. They help you unscramble your thoughts. They empower you to fix yourself.
Give you a different way of looking at things.
So young people don't want to see counsellors because they're mentally ill. They go and see counsellors to stay well. I had a government, a minister's aide, the guy that gives them all his ideas, ring me up and say, your Gumboot Friday will never be funded. Why not? Because anyone can use it. What do you mean? You don't even have to be mentally ill to use it. Okay, you're a fucking idiot. What do you mean? So you're saying that someone has to be mentally ill to see a fucking counsellor? That's like saying to someone, why are you going to a doctor? You haven't had a heart attack. Yeah. Why are you at the hospital? Why are you at the gym? You haven't had a heart attack. I said, kids don't want to see a counsellor because they're mentally ill. They go to stay well, you fucking moron.
It's ambulance at the top of the cliff.
It's such a broken system. So what they do is they fund bricks and mortar, right? It's like they set up a taxi company. You've got to have an office. You've got to have the admin. You've got to have lawyers. You've got to have contractors. Then you've got to buy the taxis and the drivers of the counsellors. But in order to see the counsellor, you've got to go to the taxi rank, and you don't get a choice of what driver you want. You've got to take the first cab off the rank. And this is under their access and choice. So with that, it's between $350 and $2,000, right? And this is under access and choice, where there's limited access and there's no choice.
Yeah.
Under our system, what have we done? We invented Uber. That's all we did. You carry the cost of the car. You carry the cost of the account. You just charge us what you charge us up front with all of those things built in. And the average cost is $147.
Man, you've got so much passion and so much energy for this. I can almost see the rage. Do you how do you keep your own mental health in check? Because it's like I worry about you, and I worry about Jazz Thornton a little bit from Voices of Hope, because it's like you take a lot on. You're taking on a lot of other people's problems, and that's
I don't. I don't.
People share their problems with you. That's got to bring you.
No, it doesn't.
No?
You want to know why? My job's not to take on other people's problems. My job's not to. I pathway people. So. Our current system deals with individuals. I'm looking at the big picture. So our focus is this positive societal attitudinal change. Remember this, 80% of people in crisis never ask for help because they're worried about what society thinks, says, or does.
Yeah.
So, until we change society's attitude, you can have the best mental health system in the world. You can throw $1 billion a day at it. But if people aren't buying into it, you're wasting your fucking time. So attitudes have to change. Yeah. So I will listen to your problem. I don't take it personally. I will listen to the tale of your son being refused help at a hospital and then going back an hour late and being trespassed off the premises to him dying 7 hours later. I will listen to that. I will be enraged by that, and I use that as my motivation going forward.
Right. Okay.
So it's always about. See, Jazz is a bit different. She takes everything. I don't take everything on.
Is that a maturity thing, do you think?
Well, so I've just looked at where I can be most effective.
Yeah.
And like I can save individuals, and I don't buy into that argument. If we save one life, it's all worth it.
Shit, you get so wound up talking about it. I can tell.
I'm passionate.
Yeah, you are.
At the end of so we have DHBs referring people to Gumboot Friday. We cope with their overload, and people say to me, say something. Tell them they can't do it. Why? It's not about them. It's about the fucking kids. My saying is they are all our children.
Yeah.
When you have been to every decile of school in the country, you will know that in the elite private schools of this country, they have equally as many kids who are fucking struggling with mental health issues, and in some cases more than poorer areas.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're a redneck piece of shit that hates Māori and hates me. I love your child, and I will crawl over broken glass to get your child the care that they need. And you've got to have that. You've got to have that attitude that everyone is equal in mental health.
God, you've done some good work, eh? You sleep well at night these days?
I never sleep, bro.
Oh, yeah? You deserve a good night's sleep.
No,
you should be...
I wake up every 2 hours. My Windows 62, Dom. Windows 62 does not stop. It does not stop. It is always working. There are always things that I have to write down. There are always things that, look, I've got 10 years left if I'm lucky.
Oh, come on. How can you say that?
Well, I've had
I've
had a major stroke. I've got one artery working to my brain at the moment. I've had two heart, not surgeries, but heart fucking things.
Bypass or no?
No. What do you call them? No, they have, when you're awake, they put shit through your heart.
Right.
So I've had two of those.
You got no vices now. You're a healthy dude.
No, it doesn't matter. I smoked for most of my life. I put huge mountains of coke up my nose, and I smoked weed from 13 years old right up till I was 45 every day. When I left smoking, I was a 40 smoker a day. So I'm a realist. If the big man came out of the sky today and said, I'll give you 15 years, I'll take the 15, 15, thank you, 15.
So what are you now, 60?
So I'm 60. I've got 10 years left. I'm going to make them count.
Yeah.
I fucked around enough. I made, I spent most of my life making everything about me. I look at this younger generation, and they need a soldier. They need someone out front, kicking down doors and warding off all of the people who tell you why you can't do so. They need someone out there advocating for them, and I'm going to be out front. So they can go on and change the world. I seriously believe that they can change the world. They just need someone to take the bullets from all the old fucks out there that are trying to stop them. And that's my job. I know what my purpose is. I know it's a huge sacrifice for my family. In
terms of the time and effort and energy,
I'm always out there fighting wars.
Yeah.
I'm trying to spend more time with my wife. She deserves the time. I have unique ways of dealing with that. I said, babe, we need to spend more time together. And she went, really? I said, yes, that's exactly what we need to do. I took up golf again at the beginning of the year, so I went and bought her a set of golf clubs. And we go out to the driving range. She's learning. I'm getting her lessons. And we're going to go out and play golf whenever we can.
Cool.
And I just want to, I want to give her some quality time. But she knows that we're on a bus that's going really fucking fast, and I'm not getting off the bus. So get on the bus and come with me for the ride, and and be with me as much as you can, and we'll just see where that takes us.
Fuck, what a positive bus as well.
Yeah. So we just.
Is this what you're doing now? Is this your legacy? You reckon?
Well, your legacy is what other people decide.
Yeah.
This is.
What do you when you die? What would you like? What would you like to think people say about you?
I don't care. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Like I always say this to teachers. You will never know the effect that you have on kids. You will never know how many lives you change. But your family, your funeral, when they see everybody that turns up, when the dad's standing there with his 5 kids and he's saying, this lady saved my life. If this lady wasn't here, this great person wasn't here, none of us would be here. We owe everything to that person. So, and there'll always be people that turn up to your funeral and go, I just turned up just to make sure you're dead, you asshole. And that's life, right? But that's life.
Yeah.
That's life.
I don't know. I think 20 years ago you would have had a bunch of those people, but I feel like that crowd has diminished now. I don't know.
Look, it doesn't matter. My soul, legacy, smegacy, fuck.
Is there an afterlife or anything?
Just because you brought up legacy, I remember I went and saw Willie Jackson. I want to say it, right? And I was talking to him about, Gumboot Friday and why aren't we getting funding? And, here's all of our initiative. Why aren't you? I see you out there fighting for Tamahiri. I see you out there fighting for everyone. You know, sure, like I'm not exclusively Maori families, but if we lift up everyone's families, then the Maori families will come up too.
Yeah.
Currently, we're focusing on Maori families, and those numbers are fucking going down, so it's not working. But if we lift everyone up, if the care comes up for white people, naturally it comes up. So let's, you know, and I'm saying there, and he's like, oh, bro, you know, bro. And I was like, you know how I feel, Willie? And I just said this, right? I said, I fucking just feel like giving back that fucking medal that you guys gave me. And he went, ha, 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 there goes your knighthood. And he laughed and said, there goes your knighthood. And that fucking enraged me. And I just said, do you think I'm here for a fucking knighthood, pal? Is that what you actually think? I'm not here for fucking knighthoods. And that was the day I went home and I said to my wife, I'm giving that fucking thing.
So this was the officer of the Order of Merit thing.
New Zealand Order of Merit thing. Yeah.
Surely, I know
the stepping stone to a knighthood.
I know you're not doing any of this for the accolades, but the New Zealander of the Year thing in 2019, that must have meant a lot.
That was huge.
Yeah, that's massive.
Because it's a people's award.
Yeah.
People nominate you, you know. The proudest award that, you know, I ever got in comedy was People's Choice in Metro Magazine 3 times, you know. I don't give a fuck what anyone else. And you know,
it's funny how like the side of you's never changed. Like earlier we were talking about how you shat on Andrew Shaw, who was a TV executive, and people were like, "Oh, you never get on TV," and you're like, "I don't give a fuck." Yeah. You still get on TV. Who knows? You might, even though you don't care about it, you might still get that knighthood, even though
you never.
Is that so?
That's burnt now.
Oh, okay.
Bro. Yeah, you can't give, like, you know, the Queen had to say yes. Like, you know, had to get a letter from the fucking Queen,
right?
You know, and you know, so. Yeah, no, that's a bridge is burnt. And
right.
Like, who cares? Who cares, man? You know, they hand them fucking things out like lollies.
They gave Ron Broyley one.
You know, you know, I don't know. It's just, and, you know, a lot of people deserve them, you know.
Yeah.
Most
you do. Like you've done a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah, I know, but that's not the motivation.
No, I know it's not.
But there are so many people in the game now that are in it for a fucking knighthood. You know, people are jumping in. Oh, they're giving away knighthoods. So, like, look, people first, man. People first. You know, I love sitting at Mangere Bridge and, you know, every day people coming up to me and hugging me and telling me about their kids. Man, that's the reward right there, man. That's the reward right there. You know, my team, I wrote a book called T.R. and Mac, The Hopeful Black Dog. So it's about a black dog. And the book was about bullying. And, you know, our current plan to deal with bullying is let's bully the bully.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Whereas I now know, because I travel around schools, that bullies bully because they're being bullied. And, you know,
they've got their own shit going on.
So let's be kind. So anyway, I wrote this book, and my team go into primary schools, and they read this book to give kids a better understanding of what's going on in the bully's head, but also helping bullies to understand that what you're doing is not love. That's not love. You know, they think love is, you know, is bullying. And giving people a better answer. And a little girl went up to my ambassador who read the story, and she said, "Can I talk to you?" And she said, "Yeah, what's up, darling?" She goes, "Did the man who wrote this book know it was going to help so many of us?" And that's right there, man. That's better than any fucking knighthood. And my 8-year-old daughter, when she found out I couldn't get, you know, I was never going to be a sir, and she goes, "Dad, kings are higher than sirs anyway."
I like it. Will you ever do any stand-up again, do you think? I feel like you're still fucking funny. Like before when you were talking about your big giant head and your white pubes. You could do different shit to what you used to do.
Look, I don't trust myself. No, seriously. I've done it twice since I retired. Only twice. Once at Quentin Pongia's aftermatch, and once at the Mad Butcher. Now at Quentin Pongia's aftermatch, like, I smashed it. Yeah,
there he is.
Welcome back. back. And I was like, I had to leave.
Yeah.
And the same after Mad Butcher Roast. I had to actually leave. I realized how dangerous that it was.
What, in terms of ego? Or?
Yeah, and like it's addictive, man. If you can make a room full of fucking people like spit their drink,
it's a rush.
It's I can't do it. I just can't. I don't trust myself. It'll be like I can just have one drink. I can just tell one joke. I can incorporate my comedy in my talks, which I do, and that's enough.
Yeah,
it's comedy with a difference. And if people want to understand vulnerability more, and I watched this woman, my wife went on and on about, we got to watch this thing. You got to watch this
Brene
thing.
Brown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like everything that Brene says, I've been practicing since 2007.
Yeah.
And it was one of those lovely feelings where I finally had boxes to put things in. The only other moment where I've had that was when I read Malcolm Gladwell's The Tipping Point.
Oh, yeah. I love that book.
Yeah, it was like, I'm a maven, I'm a salesman, and I'm a connector. But I had boxes. when you just do things because they feel right, and then suddenly you've got boxes. It's the first book I'd ever got to the end and started reading again. I just, So Brene Brown on Netflix, it is a wonderful read, and the story I'm telling myself is such a great way of, just talking to partners. When your partner's not saying something and I know there's friction and, like you're getting angry because why aren't you fucking talking to me? Hey, babe, I don't know what's happening. I know there's something, but the story I'm telling myself is I did this, and this, and you've did that. No, that's not what I'm thinking at all.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's just a nice air clearer. Yeah. The story I'm telling myself. My inner critic is telling me,
Yeah, I must admit I've been a late entrant to the vulnerability club. Like it was only a few years ago for me, but I think part of that's because I went to, I'm probably a similar generation to you, a little bit younger than you, but I went to an all-boys school in Palmy North, and
Which one?
Palmy Boys.
Yeah, fuck
so
the best fucking haka at Palmy.
Oh, they gave you one?
Yeah, they gave me one. New Plymouth Boys High. Like I've got I filmed them all, man. I have got a folder full of huckers from around just about every school. I've got one of the special ones I got after I got New Zealander of the Year was the Crusaders gave me their hucker on their field.
That shit means more than a night, right?
No, it's just it's fine-tuning. So, no, but, we're all changing, but vulnerability is the new economy, and that doesn't mean we go and fucking just throw our dirty laundry out at everything. It's just being more honest.
Yeah.
When people say, how are you today, Dom? Instead of saying, I'm good, because it's a natural thing to say, what I say now is, how you go? My inner critic's smashing me, bro. And then suddenly it's not a conversation anymore. It's gossip. Oh, fuck, what happened? Well, I walked past Dom this morning and the fucking arsehole just ignored me. And I must be supposed to, but you know what fucking Dom's like. And oftentimes when you do that, the other person can provide context. Oh, well, Dom had to take his dog to the fucking vet today, don't you? The dog got hit. Fuck, really? So now it's not about me. Oh, fuck, thanks, but I've got to go and check in on Dom. Fuck, I didn't know about the dog. And that's what being honest is about. Yeah. It's looking for ways that you can be vulnerable without crossing the line of burdening people with your... I think that's what I should write a book on, actually. Ways to have a conversation without burdening people.
Yeah. That'd be a good read.
No, I don't write. I won't do it.
Audiobook.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
All right. Hey, geez, we've been sitting here for over 2 hours, and we keep going. What a rich life.
Yeah,
it's been colourful.
I've played rugby with the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Until last year when I had my last game of rugby at 59. The last game of rugby before that, I played with the All Blacks. I was on the tour on the Coca-Cola convoy with them in 1995. They ran out of reserves. I ran onto the wing. Did they pass me the ball? No. Did I touch the ball? No. But get fucked. I know that there are other All Blacks that did the same thing. I fucking was on the All Black team. I played with the Black Caps. I fucking toured hip-hop artists. I've been around the world. I've been on the same stage with Dave Chappelle. You know, I've had a really, really blessed life. And sometimes when I'm down on myself, I have to remind myself. And, you know, I've got six beautiful kids. You know, it's most days life's good.
Yeah.
Other days it's shit.
Well, you reap what you sow, so you definitely deserve more good days than bad days.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. Really appreciate your time. You're a great New Zealander.
Oh, thank you, bro. Who's our sponsors?
Ooh, I don't know. Who's sponsoring this episode?
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Ooh. Well, whoever you are, you're amazing. And none of this would be possible without your sponsorship.
There he is, the comedian.